Bet.com Coaches Show is presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation, and I'm Chase Miller. We'll start off the show with a couple of interviews recapping the North Dakota Class B Girls Golf Championship last week at the Maple River Golf Course. Oak Grove won their second straight team championship, and Avery Bartels of Kindred won her fourth straight individual title. For our senior spotlight this week, we'll feature a pair of Sargent County Bulldog players, as Sargent County is 7-0 on this season, and then we'll chat some more nine-man football in North Dakota with Maple River head coach, that is Larry Fontaine, before ending our show with Detroit Lakes volleyball coach Rachel Solum, as the Lakers are off to a great start so far this season on the volleyball side. But let's dive into our conversation. Laine Brantner of Fargo Oak Grove will be joining us in a minute with Joe Lancello to talk about the team championship. But first, let's hear from Avery Bartels and her dad/coach Korey Bartels on family golf, and also Avery winning another individual championship. Now, as they wrapped up the golf season, that is Avery Bartels and also Korey Bartels here from the Kindred girls golf team. And first and foremost, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll chat about Maple River and how that went for Avery, how it went for a team. But first things first, Korey, crazy to think high school golf is already wrapped up in the state for Class B girls. It doesn't take too long before you get to the first couple of days of October, as it's already said and done. So how would you just assess your team? Two seniors, a lot of underclassmen, a lot of eighth graders, to have a chance to compete here for a state title throughout the season?
Yeah, it obviously goes fast, but the weather's so much better. Spring to fall, we didn't really take a day off. We get together, we go out, do qualifying rounds, where when we had spring golf, we used to figure out when the first driving range was going to open, things like that. But progress for our girls and the year, yeah, exactly right. We had Avery and Maddie as our seniors, and then we had 4 eighth graders. 2 of those came back from last year, state tournament team that we got 4th at. But we had a hard time figuring out. We did a lot of qualifying even up to the last week before region, because we had 7 players in the mix, and we ended up with those 4 eighth graders, and couldn't be more proud the way it ended up. Down 10 after day 1, shot our best score of the year day 1, and I could see that some of the girls were a little disappointed how they played, and I just kept telling them it's a roller coaster, 36 holes, keep plugging away. And it was ironic, Cody Polchinski is our assistant coach, and he was on the boys team in 2016 that won by 1 at Jamestown Country Club when my son Parker was an 8th grader. Cody was a senior's dad. Mike was the coach. And I remember Mike going around midway through that day going, don't give up. It's a long deal. And us as parents are kind of looking at the online scoring at that time was never really up to date or accurate. But we knew the boys weren't playing well, and we're like, heck, we might not even get a 3rd place trophy out of this deal. And they ended up winning by 1. And about 7 holes into Tuesday, I text Cody as my assistant and said, 2016 Jamestown, let's just keep plugging away and see what happens. And so it was pretty fun to see us come all the way back and tie.
And able to finish off, Avery, I know it was kind of maybe bittersweet, because I remember chatting with you in August. You said, you wanted to golf at least a 68. I know at the state you got to go, 69. You mentioned about being an individual medalist as well, wanting to achieve that goal, and wanting to be a championship as well. So first start 68 on the course this year. Were you able to get to 68 at all in any one of your events?
No, it was sad. I got to 69 though the last day of state, so that was good.
Okay, and then you're able to win that championship. Just take us through your mind. What's going through your final gallery, or the last round that's coming in? How much are you thinking about it from an individual side at that point as you're going to the 18th? But how much are you thinking about it, or did you know where you were from a team aspect as well at that point, Avery?
Yeah, so after the first day, I had set myself up well individually, so I knew that after the front nine, if I played well, I really didn't have to worry about that, and I could kind of flip my mindset to the team aspect. So I played really well on the front, shot even all 3 times I played that course competitionally. And I switched my mind to team aspect. And if my dad wasn't around, I was asking the Carrington coach how close me and Oak Grove were and how we were plugging away. And then I hit a lot of greens, and I was missing a lot of birdie putts. So I just kept asking my dad how close we were. And I knew on 18 that we were tied. And I knew on my second to last putt, that if I made it, we would have won. And if I missed it, we lost, which obviously I missed it. So that was kind of like how it ended up.
It's one of those deals where you wouldn't maybe dream of it any better situation, right? You go on the practice course, you talk about yourself going into the 18th to have an opportunity to do that. Was it a little bittersweet from both the father coach point of view here, Korey, but also from your point of view, Avery, to know that, hey, no matter what, I'm going out as a champ one way or another, even though I know, again, it was one of your goals to win that state championship. Korey, I'll start with you because technically you tied and you had to go to, the fifth golfer for a tiebreaker, which you rarely hear of in sport, for crying out loud. But at the end of the day, Korey, just take us what's kind of going through your mind, both as a parent, but also, a part of the team as well.
Yeah. As the coach and parent, the team deal was a big deal for us this year. We had some eighth graders that really dedicated themselves, played a lot this summer, and they didn't tell us, but a few of the parents told me that they wanted to bring Avery out on top. It was a big deal to them. And for us to get it all the way back to even knowing that Avery was, so far ahead, she was just playing so much better than anybody else for those 2 days that the individual thing was there. And it's hard to tell. We had 3 of our players were out a lot earlier than Oak Grove had 1 girl out early based on score the first day. And so if the app was updated and correct, at one point we were down 23 shots, but it was too early to tell, right? And then once we got down to when it was Avery and they had 2 or 3 girls left out on the course and we were getting under 10, I knew that if Avery played well, not hoping that Oak Grove wouldn't, but I knew that there would be some bogeys in there. And then we got it down to a tie, which we knew the tiebreaker going in. So that's how Avery knew that she had to make that putt. But I don't agree with the tiebreaker, but we knew it, so that was fine. I mean, I would just as soon go out and take all 6 girls, take the best 4 scorers, and end it on the course. But that's the rule. It's always been that way. But the research I did, I don't think there's ever been a tie in North Dakota golf, boys, girls, A or B, for a team title. So back to the reference at Jamestown in 16, when Cody and Parker were on that team, they won by 1. So that made me go back and look last week and see if they would have won the tiebreaker as well, because the Kindred had the best 5th score for that tournament as well. So they had a little bit of a cushion, but it was tight. So
let's talk about Parker a little bit here, Avery. Was there that, a sibling rivalry, so to speak, even though he was older than you, where you're like, okay, I'm going to go out there on the course and you know what, I'm going to get my birdie, or I'm going to get my par. I'm going to beat you, even though you might be in college, or I'm going to beat you, even though you're in high school when you're on the links. Talk about how that sibling rivalry maybe just continued to fuel and a good competition wise to go on the course and have a chance to compete, day in and day out.
Yeah, I think he's definitely been a big competitor of mine. Just like as I was growing up, like I always want to beat him. I always want to beat him first. And then when I finally beat him, it started happening more consistently. So we had to up the goal a little bit and try and beat Parker. But I think he's also like my biggest supporter and he's like my biggest fan. So in that aspect, he's like the best brother anyone can ask for. But we're both like really competitive against each other. Like he obviously has 1 state title and I have 4, but he has 3 home runs and I have 0. So he has that over me. So it's kind of just like always competing, always trying to be better than one another.
Yeah. Speak of the hole-in-one. Is that the toughest thing in golf, or what is the toughest thing in golf? We'll start from the actual golfing aspect without any instruction, any coaching. Is hole-in-one the one thing that is the difficult, or is there something else that comes to mind as a golfer? Korey, we'll start with you first.
I think hole-in-one's a lot of luck, but Parker has a lot because he is a good iron player. But I've seen guys in their first year of golfing get a hole-in-one. Back when I grew up in Hillsborough and we had people that had played 30 years that were scratch golfers, never had one, they'd get upset. So I think the hardest part in golf is actually the chipping and putting. If you haven't played, it's just having that finesse. Athletic people can play golf, but catching on to the chipping and putting takes a lot longer than they anticipate most times. So
yeah, I would agree with that. And probably like score-wise, would be getting an albatross. Sure. Like on a par 5, you're getting a hole-in-one on a par 4. So
yeah, the albatross you don't hear of too often, for sure. That's one that's definitely that ranks up there. Yeah. Avery, how much have you talked with your brother about the next level of golf? You're heading to NDSU. He obviously went to St. John to compete, there in the MIAC. How much have you talked with him throughout his time on what is different from a high school game, so to speak, to a college game?
Yeah, he's always giving me tips like when we're out playing together on just like certain aspects of my game that could help me for the college level, and just like looking ahead, being nervous for qualifying type of thing. He's always like reassuring me, telling me that I'm a good enough player to play on that team right away, and just like all sorts of things. He's really encouraging when it comes to the college aspect.
Korey, from your point of view, I remember talking with Perry Piotz talking about golfing. I remember talking with a lot of folks in the Kindred area, and you go back through whether it's girls or boys, individual or team. you're either 1, 2, you're third. Kindred Golf has cemented itself, in the last decade plus when it comes to Class B golf. What's the secret? Everyone wants to know what the secret is. Is it Oxbow? Is it really good golfers? Is it better coaches? What's the secret you got out there in Kindred?
I think it's a combination. I think it starts with, obviously, we're a golf community. We're fortunate enough to have 2 golf courses in our school district between Leonard Country Club and Oxbow. So that's a big part of it. John Dahl, our swing instructor that most of these kids use when they're young. But with that, it takes parents that are committed and are willing to give the resources to do it. So I think that's a combination of that. And then you still got to go out and compete, play in tournaments, especially when we were in the spring and both. I mean, if you were just going to play in the high school season, there was years you were only getting 4 or 5 tournaments in before state. So I think it's a commitment from the entire community. But, when we have 2 golf courses, we have a teaching pro like John Dahl, who's that works some with Tom Hoagie. I mean, John's as good as they get. And then the buy-in from the parents and success breeds success, I believe. So.
Avery, with that being said, now that you're officially through it as a competitor, I'll ask you this question. You've done it in the spring, you've done it in the fall. Which one did you like to compete at more? I think I know where I'm going here with the weather that we have in North Dakota and the greater upper Midwest, but which one did you enjoy more from a competitive aspect in the spring or in the fall?
Fully fall. Like, fall was just so much better. It was way better conditions. Like, we weren't chipping off of mud. We weren't getting out on the middle or end of April, like when state's at the end of May. Like, it was just so much better. And I even agreed with that in our first fall season, my sophomore year. It just, every pro outweighs the cons, and there's hardly any cons. Like, it's probably the best thing to happen to high school girls golf.
Final thing for you guys, how much has golf meant to both of you as a family, to your mom, to your brother, the whole 9 yards that comes in between, Korey, your other half, so to speak, to what you've had here with, one girl, one guy, and able to continue that through, see them play high school, see them move on to the next generation of college golf as well. How much has it meant, in your family? Korey, I'll start with you first.
Yeah, pretty big with us. I think, Sherry, their mother, my wife, was not a golfer. Played volleyball and basketball at Fargo South, very competitive. Took up golf, found that it took up too much time to be as good as she wanted to be at it. But, it started, we purchased a house and decided our kids were going to go to a Class B school, purchased a lot, built a house out here in Oxbow. And then just to watch it all through, you think about those things, you dream about them. I played a little bit of competitive golf. I played in high school. I played 1 year of college golf. So it was always, and it was easy with Parker. He wanted to be a dad. He was a year and a half old when we moved out here. So he was always with me on the golf course. And my group that I played with were very considerate and let him play as long as he didn't slow anybody down. But then taking it through, it went so fast. I mean, we were so fortunate, not having a season in 2020 is still hurts in this house. The boys had as good of a team assembled as in the history of North Dakota. I mean, I'd put them up against anybody. Girls had everybody back but one player from a state championship team. So, it's the what if, but at the end of the day, that was a weird time in the world and we all learned from it. But it's our life. I mean, Sherry tells everybody all the time, we don't go on vacations. We go to golf tournaments. Everything's planned around golf and will continue to be until they're done playing competitively. So. But we enjoy it. We're not complaining at all. We love it. Even though Sherry doesn't play, she loves to watch. She's learned a lot about the golf, and we've met a lot of great people traveling, parents of people our kids have played with, parents of their Parker's teammates at St. John, just a lot of great people. We would never met through it. So to me, it's, I wouldn't have had it any other way, but luckily I didn't have to persuade anybody. So
for sure. Avery, I'll let you elaborate a little bit from your own perspective here.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said. Like, my parents are willing to sacrifice everything to give me and my brother the opportunities that we've been given. And I'm really grateful for that. And it's been a huge aspect of my life. Like, I hated it when I was really young, and I learned to love it in like 6th and 7th grade. I really started to like it, and it's become a huge aspect of my life. Like, it's how people know our family, and just like, it's my whole summer, it takes up the whole summer. And I really wouldn't have it any other way. Like you said, I meet so many people through it, and just like everything that's given me is really important to my life.
Hey, Avery, Korey, thanks so much for your time. I know we're going to still talk golf down the line. And once we kind of get into the winter and talk about what's the next thing on the golf course for you guys, where's the next family trip? What's the next tournament that's coming up? So thank you so much for your time, and best of luck moving forward, Avery, in your senior season with what's coming up. And Korey, we'll see you in a gym near soon here, I'm pretty sure, in the next coming months.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chase. Cam, tell you how much I appreciate any coverage of high school golf, especially girls. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chase.
Hillsborough Economic Development Committee provides information and a support for small businesses. Experience Hillsborough. More at 104.
Welcome back to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. I'm Joe Lansella speaking with Laine Brantner, the coach of the state champions in Class B girls golf, Oak Grove Grovers. And Laine, I think I started an interview with you like this in August about the defending champions, and now it's two-time champions. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a great couple of days for the girls. They played their best 2 rounds of the year at state, and so it was really exciting to watch them play.
It was a pretty tight affair with yourselves and Kindred. I think it had to go to a tiebreaker, did it?
It did. It's crazy how close both Kindred and we were all year long. We went back and forth throughout the year. I think they actually beat us more times than we beat them. And most of our matches were pretty close. They obviously had the best player in the state in Avery Bartels. She's a wonderful player and a great kid as well. And, obviously when you look at a 4-time individual champ who's, likely, I think our season scoring average this year was 71, so under par.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive. So obviously, with our number 1 scoring average being an 81, we kind of needed the whole team to come together to try to overcome that gap. And they really pulled together and played well at state. We had, I think 3 of the girls had their personal bests rounds of the year at state. So that was pretty fun to watch.
What is it like for you at a state tournament? You can't watch everybody at once, obviously, and it's such an individual thing. It's not like wrestling where everybody does kind of perform on the same place at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's and it was a little unique this time around in that I had the number 2 and 3 girls after the first day. They actually got to play together. So they kind of, I don't know what the exact rule is, but I think if you're in the top 20 or a certain number, that if you're teammates, they'll let 2 teammates play together in the second round of state. And so I was able to, and they were in the 3rd to last group. And then Sylvie, who had our best score the first day, was in the 2nd to last group. So I was really able to, my assistant coach was able to take care of the other girls. And so I was really able to move back and forth most of the day between those 2 groups and be able to kind of get to a lot of their shots.
And you mentioned your daughter Sylvie tied for 6th with a 160.
Yeah.
Your daughter Josie was tied for 11th at 168, and Ellie Zuger, Josie Geiger, and Lauren Holstead all top 25.
Yeah, no, it was like I said, they all had great rounds, at least one great round in the state tournament. So it was really fun to see how they were able to compete under the pressure. And I don't know, last year it's kind of ironic because last year it came down to the final putt. My oldest daughter, who graduated now is off in college, last year had to make about an 8-foot putt on the 18th hole, or we would have tied with Hart River. And at that point, then we would have actually lost the tiebreak because they had the tiebreak over us last year. And so it came down to a putt on the final hole for us as well. And then this year, again, it came down to, it was one of those things that was really, I didn't know what to do as a coach. You just kind of guess, go with your gut. I caught my youngest after I watched Josie and Ellie finish. I drove back to the 18th tee, and my Sylvie asked me, she said, what is it? And I looked at her and I said, do you want to know? And I'm wondering, do I tell an 8th grader whether or not, can she handle knowing if we're tied or not? And she said, yeah, I want to know. And I said, all right. So I said, hey, we're tied. And I said, and we have the tiebreaker. So if you make par, then you force Avery to have to birdie to beat us. And she looked at me and she just said, okay. And then she hit her best drive of the day right down the middle, hit it left to the green. A good shot, pin high, just a little left, chipped it up to about 5 feet and made the putt, which was just incredible to watch, a little 8th grader. And I wasn't watching her on the 17th hole, but she made it about a 10-footer for par on 17 as well. So she kind of went par, which helped us obviously to maintain that tie. And then Avery hit a great putt on the 18th hole. It just didn't go in the group behind. So we were able to win the state title. So it was just an exciting time for the girls. They were pretty excited. It was just fun to watch them. I think it helped have all the girls there that were playing, except for one, had the experience of the last year when we were in Minot, where it was just nip and tuck. I mean, you think about it, we've had the fortune of being able to be back-to-back state champs, but by a grand total of one shot. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
And that's the kind of thing where after a round, you can say to yourself, boy, if only I would have.
Yep. And I'm sure, some of our girls didn't have to do that. I feel bad for the Kindred girls. They're a great group. That's the one thing I love about golf, is that you get to know your opponents, after the round. We went over and hugged the Kindred girls. They're all good friends. They all, like each other. So, they were happy for themselves and obviously felt bad for them. But Kindred's a great program. They had 4 of their top 6 were 8th graders. So they will definitely be back, and they'll be very good again for several years to come.
You talked about Avery Bartels. I think she's going to play at North Dakota State next year. 4-time champion, as you've mentioned.
Yep.
What makes her so good?
Well, she just has the all-around game. She hits it about probably 240, 250. So she's very long off the tee, and probably her iron play is, I don't know if you'd ask her, probably her strongest part of her game. She hits her irons. She probably hits 15, 16 greens around. So, and then, she's got a good short game. So there really isn't, to be really good like that and average under par for a year, you really can't have any deficits in your golf game. And she really doesn't.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Laine Brantner, the coach of Oak Grove, the new and make that 2-time state girls, Class B girls golf champions.
Yep.
How many girls will you have back next year?
So, we're in a good spot for next year. We don't graduate anybody. We had two juniors on the team this year, Josie Brantner and Lauren Holstead, and they will be back. They were our co-captains this year. And then we had Josie Geiger, who's a freshman, so she'll be a sophomore next year. And then Sylvie Brantner, Claire Lee, and Ellie Zuger were our 3 8th graders. So, yeah, I mean, I've kind of kidded the Kindred coach that we will be battling for quite some time, and I hope that's the case. And then there's also some other good teams. Heart River is always good. There's other teams that you just never know. And our region, Central Cass, has got a lot of good young players. So, the prospects for golf, not just in our region, but in the state, is really looking up. We had over 100 girls that were out for golf in our region, Region 2 this year,
Nice.
Which is just unbelievable.
Athletes are often asked what is tougher, winning a championship or defending a championship. They usually say defending. Would you and your golfers say the same thing?
I don't know, because the reality is Kindred was definitely the favorite. They had beaten us by more than we'd beaten them. And so I think, after the first round, our girls, really believed they could win it. I think they were a little not knowing if they could. I think they thought they could, but then after they played really well, then they believed. And that's always harder when you're in a position where you have a 10-shot lead, to be able to try to close it out, if you will. And, down the stretch, that gets hard. You find out a lot about who you are and how you react when you got the adrenaline going and the pressure's on. And that was the one thing that was really, fun for me to see as a coach, was to see how the girls reacted when they knew the pressure was on.
All right. Oak Grove, 2-time Class B state golf champions, and going for a 3rd next year. Laine Brantner, thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, you too. And we'll continue with the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation, after this.
Hey growers, when working on your water management solutions, call Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. They are your water management contractor, helping you with tile drainage plans, service drainage plans, or both. Remember, water management is a lifetime investment. Call Chad 701-430-0182 to get your water problem solved. For more information, follow Chad's Excavating on Facebook. For tile drainage and service plans, call 701-430-0182. Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
Do you want that new boat? Are you building onto your home? Maybe you want the new camper or ATV. Dakota Heritage Bank can help you. This is Dustin Nagel, president at Dakota Heritage Bank Hillsborough location. You can visit with me or our other loan officers to help with loans and lines of credit from Dakota Heritage Bank. We are serving you with locations in North Dakota and Northwest Minnesota. Dakota Heritage Bank offers financial services you expect with a local perspective. dhbanknd.com. Dakota Heritage Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
There's more at 104. Hillsborough, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsborough and see why there's more at 104.
We head now to our senior spotlight with Kolten, Kadoun, and Grady Wehlander. They're 2 of the 10 seniors this year on a Sargent County Bulldog team that is undefeated in 9-man football. Here's our one-on-one conversation with Kolten and Grady. Joining us now from Sargent County, part of our senior spotlight, he is Kolten Kadoun, a senior here this season for the Sargent County football team. And Kolten, first things first, thanks so much for making the time. I can't believe we're talking October already. Has the season flown by, as it seems like every year it gets a little bit quicker? Has that kind of came to fruition where you're just knocking on the door here of what postseason could potentially be bringing for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we're already in week 6 and October's here, and playoffs are going to be starting soon. We only got 3 regular season games left, and I mean, it's going to be a fun year.
Let's talk a little bit about this season so far. I know from a media perspective, where you probably had a lot of people ask you this question, 11-man to 9-man. You know, I know talking with Coach Olson, he's coached 9-man before, so it's been a while, but he kind of knew what 9-man was different than 11-man in North Dakota. But from your point of view as a player, Kolten, is it a big difference, or is it football is football, you know, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, playing 3 years of 11-man, I mean, having that, like those 4 extra guys on the field, you just got really used to it. And then you just move to 9-man, lose those 4 guys, and it's a whole different field. And it's so much more speed you need. And I don't know, it's so much more fun.
Take us through your positions at the fullback and the linebacker spot. Which one do you enjoy more? Do you like blocking? Do you like running the ball, getting a chance to, you know, get dirty with the offense? Or is it, hey, I'm going to go tackle someone, try to get a sack, maybe have a pass breakup? Which side of the ball do you enjoy playing more here, Kolten?
Well, Chase, fullback and linebacker, not too different. Just go hit a guy. I mean, I love tackling a guy, but I also love hitting a guy and putting him on his butt. But yeah, I don't know. It just depends. I mean, the game you're playing, I don't know. I like fullback because I get a block from my guy James, and he's just so electric, and it's just so much fun seeing him just bounce it out and score.
What has been a sentence, couple sentences, or a couple words when you think of Sargent County football this season? What has made the transition essentially so seamless for you guys to go from 11 to 9-man and hit the ground running? What's been 1 or 2 things that you've enjoyed most about this team so far this season, Kolten?
I mean, the trust that I've gained within my guys. I mean, last year, I mean, there was a couple question marks, like if I could rely on this guy to do his part. But this year, I feel that I can trust all my guys and to do their job and I can do my job.
As a senior class, was there some goals coming into the season that you guys wanted to accomplish? Was there anything in particular? I know it was the first time for a while, maybe a generation that you got to play a rival in Weimar Lidgewood, but you're not playing a rival, you know, in Lisbon the other way. So some new faces, some new teams. But was there some goals that you guys came into the season as a senior class that you wanted to, you know, kind of hit, so to speak, getting back into 9-man here, Kolten?
Yeah, the biggest goal for us was make the Dakota Bowl. That was first thing on our minds. I mean, we know we can make it. We just have to engage and just keep on going, pushing through the year. I mean, already 6-0, just got to keep pushing.
Yeah, 100%. Still a couple more weeks left here in the regular season. Kolten, will also be joined with Grady Wehlander here as well with this senior spotlight this week. I could talk to you about all the seniors, obviously, and what they bring, but let's specifically here just talk about your teammate Grady. What has he provided this year's Bulldog Club?
I mean, he's just so electric. I mean, just everything he does. it's a big interception for a pick six. I mean, most everyone's seen that big play. I mean, just running the ball too, right behind him. You always can rely on him. He's just that guy to run behind and just wait for a big block, and you always know he's gonna plug a hole on defense. Yeah, he's just a great player.
After high school gets done here, Kolten, I know before we talked on this interview, you're talking about, kind of staying in the family business, which is farming. You're the fourth generation so far. What do you enjoy most about, growing up on the farm, living on the farm, and eventually one day going to be, working on the farm, so to speak?
I mean, just being the privacy and just doing whatever you want. You can just go cruising down some back roads and go hunting or fishing whenever you want. I mean, then I don't know, the farming life, that's always been for me. I just fell in love with it when I was a young age, and it's just something I never thought I would do anything other than.
Was there a time where you got in a combine or a tractor, or a time where you got in a lifter or something just clicked going, okay, this is what I want to do? Like, did you have that aha moment as you were talking about a little bit, Kolten, at a young age?
Oh yeah, like running the grain cart, I don't know, like 7th grade. And it's just like, yes, this is like what I want to do. And it's just everything's a learning curve. You can break something, then you got to fix it, whatever. And then learning how to drive truck was a big thing for me in the last few years. I mean, that's been fun, just driving semi. And yeah, it's just so much fun. You're just going to learn new things almost every day.
Favorite memory that comes to mind for sports, whether it's you as a football player, maybe a different particular sport that comes to mind, you as a fan with family and friends. When you think of one or two memories, Kolten, what comes to mind so far for your favorite, memory in sports?
That YLE game, the crowd was there. It was packed, and it was just such a good environment to be in, and it was so much fun just having everyone cheer us on. Hey, Mr. H.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, and then another big one was probably when we played Kindred last year in basketball. That was a lot of fun at a packed house. I've never seen so many fans for a basketball game.
Yeah. And the one thing on top of that, as you mentioned, like with Weimar Lidgewood, and I know you got it a little bit in class 11B at that time, as was called last year. But just take us through a football field where you can put a rope across. You can bring the back end of your pickup truck or your 4x4 comes there. People sit on top. People bring their lawn chairs out. As a player, does it get any better on a Friday night when that is literally packed all the way around? You got 2, 3, 4 lines of people, be behind that line watching the game.
No, it just makes it so much better. It's just a great environment. Just being able to see all these fans that take the time out of their day and come watch us, and all the cars that are already parked there on a Thursday night. You see how many people are just reserving their spot because they know it's just gonna be a packed house on Friday.
Kolten, if you could go back to your own 14-year-old self, or someone who's, a freshman on the football team this year and want an opportunity to be a starter, want an opportunity, to make an impact on the team, maybe be an all-region or an all-state caliber player, what would be some words of advice that you would take through your time, going from a freshman to where you are now as a senior?
Just keep pushing, follow whatever your coach says. I mean, everything that I've been doing in drills for linebacker, I mean, I've seen it, it's getting low and engaging in the tackle. It's just keep on working, just keep on pushing and get in the weight room.
100%. Always got to get in the weight room, as we hear from coaches, particularly once you get to that freshman age, for sure. Kolten, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck throughout this season. Enjoy your senior year down there in Milner, and best of luck moving forward.
Yep, have a good day.
Part of our senior spotlight this week, Kolten, Kadoun, and Grady Wehlander from the Sargent County football team. Joining us now is Grady. And Grady, off to not just a great start, but you're eyeing yourself to the playoffs now. You've clinched at least a spot there. You still have 2 games left to go in the regular season. How's everything been going from that transition from that 11-man to 9-man game for you here this season?
Everything's been going good. Last year we struggled, and it was hard to put wins on the board. Get the ball down the field. But this year, 2 less people off the field, or 4 technically. We've been able to move the ball, and last year our line wasn't able to get a push and not be able to run the ball. And this year now we've been able to dominate the run game. And first couple practice, we had a good first 2 weeks practice, and I was questioning some things about playing new game 9-man. but everything, once that first game against Lamar hit and we moved the ball and our defense was playing lights out, and I knew it was going to be a good year.
For you, Grady, as a lineman here, is it a big change from 11-man to 9-man, or is it just kind of like you said, there's really not a tackle, so to speak, the tight end kind of becomes a tackle? Is it a big change, or is it, okay, I still need to go hit this person, or I still need to fill, this gap, so to speak?
It's pretty much the same. We've been seeing both 3-man and 4-man front, both in 11 and 9-man. So you kind of got the same idea of who to go after. And when there's an ace formation, you got the 2 tight ends and you run plays and tight end pulls too. It's just like having 2 extra tackles out there. And both Josh and Luke, they're big 6'5", 6'4", who can make blocks too. So it's fun.
Let's talk about some other your teammates here. Kolten Kadoun, as we mentioned, interviewing him and you here this week at our senior spotlight. What does Kolten bring to this year's Sargent County football team?
He brings all the energy. He's a great linebacker and fullback. He gives you that Tim Riggins kind of vibe from Friday Night Lights, that he's going to go hit anyone, and he ain't scared of anyone. For
you, Grady, what does this mean this senior season to have the success that you're having? Obviously, there's still more goals that you guys want to accomplish and achieve here, but what's the success been like so far from you and this senior class?
It's been awesome. Just to always growing up, just always hoping to have a good team. And the first 3 years we made playoffs in freshman year, so we got a little bit of the looks playoffs, but this senior year's meant everything, and we're not done yet. A lot more to come.
Take us through a word that comes to mind, or a sentence or two. What's the best definition if someone asked you today, where we are right now, early October, what is Sargent County football like? If there's a word that comes to mind that symbolizes this year's team, or a sentence or two, Grady, what kind of comes to mind about Sargent County football this year?
We've been tough. We've played some tough opponents. Hankson gave us a battle. Weimar-Lidgerwood's a good program. Same with Lamar. It's been tough, but we've been able to battle through adversity when it's came upon us. And I personally love the term bend but don't break. We'll bend at times, but we'll never break. We'll always come back and fight to the end.
What is a goal that you had coming into this season? Maybe it was something as a team, maybe it's something you as an individual, what you wanted to do. I know you got in the end zone this year as well, Grady, but was there any particular goal that you wanted to set out and accomplish before the season started, making that transition from the 11 to 9-man game?
Well, I think everyone's first goal is to make playoffs. And then it kind of, once it got steeper, was to host a playoff game, have home field advantage. Now we got to take care of business these next 2 weeks and set ourselves up good for playoffs. And ultimate goal is the Dome. That'd be a great way to cap off senior year.
Take us through your touchdown that you had, a rivalry game too on top of it. It's been a while since Sargent County and Weimar-Lidgerwood, played against each other on that football field. I know you have a rival with Lisbon, and you kind of transition them, so to speak, with the Warbirds here. And maybe your generation hasn't played it, but maybe your parents' or grandparents' generation, you hear a lot about Weimar-Lidgerwood, Milner, Foreman, Gwinner area, all being rivals down there, Grady. But just take us through that touchdown. What was kind of going through your minds when you were hot stepping down the sidelines?
I couldn't believe it. Once that ball landed in my hand, I shrugged the tackle and marched my way down the field. I couldn't believe it. Everyone was cheering. And growing up, I'd always I live in between Milner and Weimar, and I'd drive over that the bridge on Friday nights watching Weimar-Lidgerwood play and back in the day, and just to do it like on a local field, and just it meant everything.
For you, Grady, here, you like any senior, you're getting asked what's next, what's your next plans in life, where are you going to go, to college or school, or where are you going into business? So I'll just ask it to you this way. Once high school is all said and done, what do you hope to go into? What do you hope to go study? What you kind of hope that your profession is, so to speak, as you get done with high school?
I like going to either precision ag or get a business degree and hopefully take over the farm, or my dad has trucking business. That would be awesome. And see what the future holds playing football at the next level too.
Hey, a final thing for you, Grady, before I let you go. Best sports memory that comes to mind at this point. It could be you as a fan going to a Minnesota Vikings game, or name your favorite professional team. Maybe it's that touchdown that we talked about just moments ago. Anything come to mind? One or two stories. Your favorite sports memory of all time.
If we're talking NFL, I got to go Minneapolis Miracle, Stephon Diggs. That was one of the best football memories I've ever had watching the NFL. But personally, it's got to be that pick six. It was pretty awesome.
Hey, Grady, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck coming up against Hatton Northwood and Maple River to close out the regular season and as you move forward here into the month of October.
Hey, thank you.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsborough, North Dakota. The Hillsborough Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and a support for business and housing. Experience Hillsborough. More at 104.
Joining us now from the Maple River Raiders, that is head coach Larry Fontaine. And for you, coach, 5-2 so far here on this season. A couple big games to close out the end of the regular season here with a home game on Friday night against the Lobos, and you head to Sargent County. But overall here, coach, talking to you at the end of the season, at the end of the summer, I know you said, hey, once we get to this part of the year, we feel like we can be a playoff caliber team. You put yourself in that conversation right now, barring what happens the last couple of weeks. But overall, how would you assess your team's play through, week number 1 to where you're at now in terms of maturing a little bit every week here, Larry?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Chase. How are you?
Doing well, coach. Thanks.
Yeah, well, we didn't know what we were going to have. I think I've told you this before. And, last year we lost 2 all-state kids, and we lost 5 seniors that contributed a lot. Wyatt and Dylan and Liam, all contributed. And I think all of them made the all-region team. So we really didn't know going into this season what we'd have. I know I'd have T, but I didn't know really much of anything else. And Connor and Caleb, but Kelvin. But that's it. Then at camp, we had a meeting last spring, and we had some newer kids coming out. Then at camp, the Carter boss showed up, and that was like, yes. And Frankie Martin couldn't make camp, but he said he was going to play. Dylan Zahn wasn't at camp. He said he was going to play. And all of a sudden, we've got 3 juniors that have never played football or much football that are going to really, really help our team. And so we looked at that, and we're like, then we set a goal. And we set a goal of being 6-3 for the year. We thought 6-3 would get us in the playoffs. And, we're about right where we thought we were going to be. 5-2 is not bad right now. And we need to win one of these next 2 games to reach that goal that we set at 6-3. And we feel if we get 6-3, we can get in the playoffs. And that was our goal.
Yeah, and you take a look at some of the players this year at T. Sillin. I know when I talk with other coaches, a lot of people will bring up his name, his number, saying this is a guy who can make plays on the run. He can make a broken play, a positive play, a guy who, can throw into the wind and have a little zip on it too. Larry, from a quarterback spot, plus at defensive end spot, he's someone who can contain the edge a little bit and get after the quarterback. So what has T done for this team so far this year?
He's a fantastic young man. He's a vocal leader. He wants to win. He really loves football. He wants to play football in college. I think he has the ability to play football in college. He's a big boy. He's thick, and he lives in the weight room. He can throw a ball 50 yards, and throw a ball 50 yards with some zip on it. Kid's just a fantastic football player, great kid. I'd like to have him around. Works his hardest. Couldn't ask for anything more from the young man. Last year, he hadn't played a lot of football, I don't think, before either. I know they came from Valley City. I think last year was his first year in Maple Valley High School. Don't quote me, but I think so. Yeah. And he didn't really like to run last year. Well, this year, I'm like, dude, you're going to have to run the ball. He's like, he's a little timid at first. But once he started running the ball, he really liked the contact, and he really liked the violence of it. And he's like, I like this, coach. I like this. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to do it. And I thought you would. And I told him the coaches aren't going to expect you to run the football in college. So if you want to play college football, you're going to have to learn to run the ball. And he's taken that and just, sometimes when I want him to pitch, he doesn't pitch because he just wants to hit people. He just wants to run the ball. That's okay.
On the same thing here too for Connor Dahl. Maybe, sometimes you hear people who are glue guys to a team, and I look at Connor Dahl going, he might not get the 5 touchdowns in a game that a Carter Bosch or a T. Silly might get, but he's going to get tackles. He's going to find ways to, get guys open, whether that's blocking for him, or we saw last week get a couple touchdowns on the receiving game. You can use him a number of different ways, but also he provides a lot of stability to this year's team as a senior too here, Coach.
Yeah, what can I say? Great kid, loves football. I mean, he gets the most out of his ability. He just plays with heart, leaves everything on the field. Last year in the game against Lemoore in the playoff game, we needed a lineman, and he played line for us last year. I mean, a little bit, not, in the playoff game, he was a lineman, and we had a spare lineman for us last year. And he can play anywhere on the field, and he just knows the game. He understands the game, loves to play. He likes the violence of the game. He likes to hit people, and we can count on him 100% on every play. He loves a 31 dive. He just loves to run the ball. He likes to be a lead blocker. He's somebody that it's going to take 1 or 2 kids to bring him down. One kid's not going to bring him down usually. And he's a good leader, good role model. He doesn't want the season to end. He wants us to win a couple more games so we can get in the playoffs and we can continue this run.
And someone too here, last player that we'll bring up here, Larry, before we talk about the end of the season here, Carter Bosch, right? I mean, just from the start, you told me back in August, hey, we got a kid that might be one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player, if you get him the outside that you've coached during your time here. And I look at Carter Bosch, and he's one of those guys where it could be 3rd and 20 at your 10, but if Carter Bosch gets the ball, it's a first down, if not maybe a touchdown. And we've saw that a couple of times throughout the season where if he gets the ball and he gets in space, it could be 6 pretty quickly for you guys, Larry.
Yeah, you are correct. Last week was a great example. We had the penalty, then we had the snap got over T's head, 3rd and 20. And okay, we put the ball in the hands of our best athlete. And what's he do? I think it was an 82-yard touchdown run. The week before in Hatton, T likes to, I love T, but he's like, Coach, we should run this, we should run that. All right, T. And against Hatton, we're going to put the ball in the hands of our best athlete, and that's Carter. And Carter ripped off, a 70-yard touchdown run. If we need something from him, we put the ball in the hands of our best athlete. And he is our best athlete. I mean, we have some good athletes, but that young man's quick. And he sees the field. For some kid who's never played football, he sees the field. He's juking and jiving, and he makes cuts that are, hard. And he's a great kid. I know I've said this before, a lot of coaches are wondering how tough he was. He's a basketball player. I don't know if he's a football player. He's a football player. After seeing him at camp, he's a football player. He's a tough kid. And he's not very big, as you know. And he's gotten rocked a few times. He gets up and shakes it off. Last week he got leveled a little bit, and he just gets up, shakes it off, and he's been a big, huge part of our football team. I mean, huge. He just gives us another asset that we can use, that speed, and we run him up the middle. We run counters with him, we run leads with him, and all he needs, he reminds me of Tony Dorsett. Tony Dorsett was my favorite football player ever. I love the Cowboys. And he had that 99-yard run against the Vikings in 83. That's how old I am. But he had that run against the Vikings, 99 yards in 83. Just needs a sliver. And all I told Carter at the beginning of the year is, all he needs is a sliver, dude. You get in there, you get a little sliver, you're going to be gone. Tony Dorsett wasn't very big, but he was quick and sneaky. And Carter reminds me of him.
Final thing for you, Larry, before I let you go. Last 2 weeks of the regular season, you're going up against some of the best teams in this region, with Sargent County next week. And then you got the Lobos again for your final game on Friday night at home. That is before you close out the regular season at Sargent County next week. What do you want to see from your kids here? Playoff aspirations, get everything in front of you to still, continue to play football 3 weeks from now instead of just 2 weeks. But what do you want to see from your kids here, Larry, the final 2 games of the regular season?
Well, I know we scheduled these games at the beginning of the year. We knew they're going to be tough. And we knew that we were going to have to take care of one of these teams to get in the playoffs. We have a pretty good region, and we knew 6-3 would get us in the playoffs, and we know that we're going to have to beat one of these 2 teams. we do not want to have to go to play Sargent County and have to beat them to get in the playoffs. We'd rather take care of it this Friday. And so our kids are preparing this week like it is a playoff game. We are preparing like it's a playoff game. We want to play football. You know, our goal is to get to the Dome. You know, we may not get there, but that's our goal. And I told the kids at the beginning of the year, if that's not our goal, why are we out here? That's our goal. That should be every team playing 9-man football in North Dakota's goal is to get to the Dome. If that's not our goal, then why are we here? And we could just go play chess, you know? So we want to get to the Dome, and it's going to start this Friday. You know, if we can beat the Lobos at home, we haven't beat them in 3 years. It hasn't even been close in 3 years. They had that run of great athletes. If we can beat them this Friday at home here, then we're pretty much going to be assuring ourselves of a playoff spot. And that's our goal. Our goal is to get in the playoffs, and we want to take care of it this Friday. So our kids are practicing. And we had to have a little meeting yesterday because I thought it was a little lackluster in practice, and coach had to get on them a little bit. We got to get focused, boys. And so we're focused now. The next 2 days of practice are going to be like a playoff practice.
Larry, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this week, later in Hope on Friday, and best of luck throughout the rest of the season, Coach.
I appreciate it, Chase. Thanks. Have a great day.
That is head coach Larry Fontaine for the Maple River Raiders with us here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show.
Here's Trail District Health Unit Administrator Brenda Stallman with a timely health tip for the women in our lives.
October is a good time to take heed to that annual reminder of getting your mammogram. All women should be getting screened for breast cancer. Mammograms are essential. You can catch lesions that are far smaller than what you can see with the naked eye or feel with your fingers. So please take that moment to schedule your mammogram.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsboro to learn more on breast cancer prevention during this National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Bank of North Dakota wants you to be confident when it's time to make student loan decisions. Visit bnd.nd.gov/confident to calculate the maximum amount of student loan debt that is recommended based on your career choice. You can also learn how to apply for financial aid and get tips to cut education expenses. Visit bnd.nd.gov/confident today.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Detroit Lakes Volleyball is having a tremendous year so far. Here's Joe Lancello, who caught up with Lakers head coach Rachel Solum.
Welcome back to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. Going to talk some Minnesota high school volleyball. Rachel Solum is the coach of the Detroit Lakes Lakers, who have been in the top 10 pretty much all season in Minnesota in Class 3A, is it?
Yep.
Okay. Always hard to keep track of how many A's there are in all the sports these days. Anyway, talk about your season. It sounds like things going pretty well for you. 14-4 as we record this.
Yeah, we're actually 15-4 after last week. We've had a great start to our year. Battled a few injuries towards the beginning of the year, battled some sickness with our team, but we managed to stay on top for most of our games. I have a great group of senior leaders that are returning from last year that have had that state tournament experience. So a very hungry group, very determined to work hard every day in practice and hopefully get back to where we were last year.
You mentioned having the seniors. What are some other things that are strong points of the Lakers?
Yeah, so the seniors for sure are one of my strong points. I mean, they're definitely bring that experience to our court. They've been on varsity now for most of them 3 years. I have one junior that's coming off of an injury last year, Logan Fredrickson. She's been doing really well for us in that middle spot. And then just a couple other juniors that filled those positions that my seniors graduated last year, Addie Wills and Haley Thielen in the back row. they're both really strong junior players that have had a lot of experience on that JV court the last couple of years and have practiced against my varsity in practice the last couple of years, but have just ultimately not seen the varsity court until this year. And they've jumped in and done a really good job too.
Sounds like it. You mentioned you had been in state last year. How far did you get there?
So we we weren't seeded when we went to the state tournament last year. We drew the 7th seed, so we played Casson Manorville, which was the 2 seed right away. And we went to 5 sets with them and lost 15-13. So we were really close to upsetting the number 2 seed. And then we ended up taking 5th. We won out the tournament the rest after that first game. So it was pretty exciting. And it just showed that like we can play down there and we deserve to be there. And it was pretty exciting for the first time for ever getting down there to end like that.
What's the competition like in your region?
Well, our competition, we got Alexander is going to be another team that we beat last year to go to state, and Korey this year. Right now they're undefeated. We actually play them on Monday night next week, so that should be a good game for us. They're potentially the number 1 seed in our section for section playoffs. So, Pequot Lakes was a tough game for us. We played Moorhead. So we went down to the cities and played a couple teams down there. We played Rogers. So, we've definitely got quite a bit of competition this year.
Will you have any more tournaments from outside the area to play in before we get to postseason?
We have one more tournament. That'll be the MEA weekend, October, in Fergus Falls. So there's a couple teams that are from like Sauk Center, Pequot Lakes is there again. So that'll be a good tournament kind of to wrap up our season right before playoffs start.
Okay, we're recording this before a game on Tuesday against Thief River Falls. Then your next game will be at home on Park Rapids on Thursday of this week.
Yep. And then we'll have Korey next Monday. We go to Korey, and then we have Bemidji at home next Thursday. That's our last home game, and that'll be our senior night next Thursday.
Good grief, the season's coming to an end pretty quick.
I know, it's gone super, super fast, but we're flying right through it.
Okay, are there any girls on your team that could possibly play at the next level?
Well, our setter is already committed. So Ava Jones, she's going to the University of Minnesota Duluth to play volleyball and go to school there. And I have a couple others that are still kind of deciding. They definitely could play, but they're also really good at track. So they're kind of just like feeling out both of their options right now and haven't really made any decisions yet, but definitely possibility for some of them too.
Okay, sounds like the Detroit Lakes Lakers, a fun team to watch. It'll be interesting to see how you do as the year goes on. Rachel Solum, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll continue with the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation after this.
That does it for the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, as presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. Make sure you join us every Wednesday night starting at 7 for the next edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. I'm Chase Miller. Have a good rest of your night.